Okay, for the rest of the test review, we're going to talk about z-scores. So 13a says the distribution of how much Americans spend on gas per week is approximately mu of $45 and a standard deviation of 10. So we know that the data is normal, where the average is $45 and the standard deviation is 10. We want to know what proportion of Americans spend less than $40 on gas per week. So we first find our z, which would be what we're looking for, 40 minus the mean, 45, divided by the standard deviation, which is 10. Be careful with parentheses around the numerator. Go to the calculator, parenthesis, 40 minus 45, close parenthesis, divided by 10. That gives us negative 0.5, negative 0.5, negative 0.5. That is our z-score, negative 0.5. Now remember how the z-scores work is that zeros in the middle. As we go to the left, we have negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. As we go to the right, we have 1, positive 2, positive 3. So negative 0.5, if you want to be a little more accurate, negative 0.5 would be about there on the left between the 0 and the 1. So I'm only concerned about that z-score, so I'm labeling that one. And we're looking for less than, so we're going to shade everything to the left. Shade everything to the left. Now, with z-scores, remember we're going to go look up negative 0.5 in the z-table. So we go to the negative z-table, we go to the negative z-table, and we're going to look up negative 0.50. So we have negative 0.5, we have 0, and we match those up. Negative 0.50 gives us 0.3085. Now remember, the z-table always tells us to the left. Always tells us to the left. So to the left is 0.3085. We're looking for less than. The table gives us less than. So that is our answer. 30.85% of Americans spend less than $40 on gas per week. Okay, so that would be less than. Again, negative 0.50. Then for 13b, same scenario, but we're looking for spend more than $60. Again, it's still normal. Average is 45, standard deviation is 10. So we find our z-score. Z equals what we're looking for minus the mean divided by the standard deviation. Let's put that in the calculator. We have parenthesis 60 minus 45, close parenthesis, divided by 10. Enter. You get 1.5, which would be 1.50. That is our z-score. So 1.50 would be about, let's say about here, positive 1.50, but this time we're looking for more than. So it's going to be a very small piece, remember that. As we go back to the z-table, we're going to look up positive 1.50. So positive 1.50, we're going to match that up. 1.50 gives us 0.9332. 0.9332, but the table always tells us less than. 0.9332. The table always tells us less than. The table always tells us less than. Well, we're looking for more than. So we're going to have to do 100% minus 93.32%, which gives us 6.68%. So 6.68% of Americans spend more than $60 on gas per week. More than $60 on gas per week. So we did less than, we did more than. Now we're going to do in between. So for in between, we have to have two values. So now we're looking for between 38 and 72. Well, again, still normal. Average is 45, standard deviation is 10. We're going to be doing two z-scores now. Two z-scores. So the first one is 38 minus 45 divided by 10. And the second one is 72 minus 45 divided by 10. We're going to put both those in the calculator. Be careful typing it in, using parentheses, all that. So we go to the calculator, parenthesis, 38 minus 45, close parenthesis, divided by 10. That gives us a z-score of negative 0.7. So it'll be negative 0.70. Then we'll do 72. So that'd be parenthesis, 72 minus 45, parenthesis, divided by 10. That gives you 2.7, which will be 2.70. We're going to draw and shade everything in between. This is an in-between problem. So negative 0.7 would be to the left, 0.7. 2.70 would be to the right, 2.70. And we're going to shade everything in between. Now again, the shading is not busy work or extra work, but it kind of gives you an estimate of what answer you should have. This is a pretty good amount of the graph. The whole thing's 100%, so we're expecting a larger percent. Now we're going to look up each one. Let's start with negative 0.70. So we go to the negative. We're going to go to the negative, and we're going to look for 0.70, 0.70. So we have negative 0.7, then we have the 0, and we're going to match that up. So negative 0.70 gives you 0.2420, 0.2420. Again, the table always tells you to the left, 0.2420, not shaded at all. Then we're going to look up 2.70, so we go to the positive table. We're going to look up 2.7 and then match up the 0. And we're going to match it all up. Positive 2.70 gives you 0.9965, 0.9965. And that's everything to the left of 2.70, 0.9965. Well, the 0.9965% is shaded and not shaded, so that's too much. The 24.20 is not shaded at all, so we're going to subtract. So we take 99.65% minus 24.20 is 75.45%. So your answer is 75.45% of Americans spend between $38 and $72 on gas per week. Okay? Now, all of those less than, more than, in between, follow, find the z-score, draw the picture, shade, go to the table, work out your answer. The last one is backwards. And the reason why it's backwards is it says what dollar amount. Every previous one gave me the dollar, 38, 72, 60, 40. This one is backwards, backwards, backwards. I don't know the dollar. So let's write down what we know. We don't know Z, we don't know X, but we know the average is still 45 and the standard deviation is 10. Okay, so we write down what we know. Then they have to give me a clue. The clue they give me is 25% below. Now, let's be clear. Is the 25% my z-score? No. Percent's one thing, z-score's another thing, right? So let's draw. 25% below would be the bottom 25%. 25%, which is 0.25. That means that z-score is going to be negative. That z-score is going to be negative. It's on the negative side. Okay? 25% below. So now we're going to work backwards. We have the percent, 25%, which is 0.25. We know that the z is negative, so we're going to go to the table. We're going to go to the negative table, the negative table, the negative table. When we go to the negative table, remember, we have the percent this time. We have the percent this time. So we're going to have to work backwards and find the closest to 0.25, not 0.025, 0.25. So the closest to 0.25, the closest to 0.25 would be this one. Now, if you use the one next to it, I wouldn't mark it wrong at all, but that is the closest to 0.25. Now we're going to work backwards to find the z-score. The z-score that matches with that is negative 0.6, negative 0.67, negative 0.67, negative 0.67. Now, if you did negative 0.68, I wouldn't mark it wrong. It's super close as well, but technically that is the closest. That's 14 away, that's 17 away. So negative 0.67 would be the z-score. Negative 0.67. Now you find the z-score, negative 0.67 equals x minus 45 over 10. Now we can do algebra to solve. So I'll do this in a different color. Let's pick green. Okay, so how do I do the algebra? I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. Multiply both sides by 10. So we're left with x minus 45 equals 10 times negative 0.67. I'll put that in the calculator. 10 times negative 0.67 gives you negative 6.7. Then we're going to add 45, and we get x equals, add 45, we get x equals 38.3. 38.3. Now again, what is that? Remember, we are looking for the dollar amount that has 25% of observations falling below it. So, kind of taking the question and rewriting it, the dollar amount that has 25% of observations falling below it is $38.30. So what does that mean? If you spend $38.30 per week on gas, you're in the bottom 25%. You're in the bottom 25%. Okay?